I finally did it. Even with all the prices skyrocketing, I finally bought a house. The house was older, built in the 1970s. It had a huge yard with the biggest pine tree I've seen in the front yard. I thought about how exciting it will be to decorate and all the lights it would take to cover. It was a farmhouse-style house and it definitely needed some renovations. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and an attic that was sealed up. The only thing is that the attic wasn't on the forms when I was doing the purchase. The entrance was one of those that you had to pull a string from the ceiling and then a ladder would come down. I noticed it when I did my final walkthrough. It was covered by some paper, but I was scared that if I brought it up it would either take longer to complete the purchase or the price would go up. It was already in bad shape, so I didn't mind so much if it was another spot needing fixing. Well, I finally got the keys and it was time to start cleaning. I started at the entry and made my way around. I was moving the fridge out of the hole, so I was rocking it back and forth until I heard the water in the sink go off. I looked and was a bit confused. I pushed the knob down and watched it to see if it would go back up. It didn't, so I went back to the fridge and then the water went off again. I stopped and started working on the sink. Checked to see if there were any leaks, but there wasn't. I jiggled the handle because why not? I looked at it and turned back to the fridge and started pulling again, and the water went on, but this time on full blast. I ran to it thinking it bursted because of how strong the water was pouring out, and then yelled, "Fine. I won't move the fridge today," and pushed it back. I was half expecting that just by touching the fridge it would turn the water on, but nothing happened. I didn't think the house was haunted at that point yet. I continued with just scrubbing the counters and then tapped out for the day. I was staying at a rental for a couple of days while I at least sanitized the place. It was grimy. When I left the house, it was already a bit past 8 p.m. I turned off all the lights and locked the doors. About 10 minutes into my drive, I realized I forgot my laptop. I turned around annoyed, and as I was pulling up to my road, I saw my house, with the lights in the kitchen on and a small glow from the attic. I only saw the lights from the attic from cracks in the boards. There were no windows to it, which is why I believe they didn't even know about it. As I sat in the car just watching, I saw something move. I reversed and said to myself, I don't really need to work tonight, and drove away. The next morning I had a friend come with me to the house to make sure that there wasn't a squatter in there. When the light to the kitchen was off, I thought maybe the bulb blew out overnight, but nope. They were still working. I then told my friend about the attic, and he looked at me saying this is where we die because there is a reason it's closed up. I told him to just cut the paper and he refused multiple times. I called him a baby and he said I was the dumb chick in every horror movie who purposely gets themselves into trouble. Boy, was he right. After much debate and whining, we got it open. And by we I mean me, 'cause he wanted no parts to it. When I peeled the paper, I saw that the string was tucked into the closing hole. As I touched it, there was a loud boom in one of the rooms. It was the room that was closest to the kitchen, and my friend picked up a kitchen knife and said we should go to the car and call the cops. We did, and when a cop came in, he and his partner lived in the house with weapons on hand. It took them a while, and when they came out they had this confused and scared look on their face. They asked me if anyone was living there before me or if I was expecting anyone to be in the house. I told them no, and as far as I know the house has been empty for a few years. They looked at each other and said if I've gone through the whole house yet. I told them honestly I haven't. Not thoroughly, at least. The whole house looked like an entire dump, so I figured I would clean one room at a time. They called for backup and told me I cannot go back inside as it is now a crime scene. I looked utterly confused. Well, the loud thud was an old man who fell over from a heart attack. He has been hiding and living in the filth in that room for a couple of months now, and he was missing during that time. His kids, who were all adults with their own children, told me that he was the one who built this house. He didn't want to move in with any of the siblings because he wanted to die in his own house. Well, when he got sick and started to show signs of dementia, they had forced him out and decided that they could not pay for that lot anymore and it wasn't useful to them, so they decided to put it up for sale after each rental would fall through after a couple of weeks, so it would be empty for months at a time and then years. They guessed that their dad got a hit of it and ran off, but when they checked the house on multiple occasions, he was never there. But he was just hiding. After the coroners took him and everything sorta settled, I got back to it. I also got a cleaner company to come in and help because I didn't want to be alone again. They started to leave one by one because of how creepy the house was, and they said that it felt ominous. One person said that the broom was completely knocked out of their hand, another said they were pushed into a room and the door was slammed shut. One said that her cross necklace started to get hot and ended up leaving her a burn on her chest. When I was alone again, I decided to scream at whatever was in the house, "I'm not scared of you. This is my house now, so get off my property, you are not welcomed here." I pissed it off. A few seconds later, I felt this breeze pass me, and an itchy burn on my back. It wasn't horrible, I mean, I've felt worse before. I went to the kitchen and got a beer to calm my nerves and also appear like nothing is bothering me. But I was freaking out. I went to bed in that house for the first time and had an insane dream when this lady came to me and I was tied to a chair. She ripped off my nails, cut my hair, and pulled my molars out. I felt everything. The pain was so real and I was screaming so hard that when I woke up my throat was on fire. My voice was gone. I was still intact, physically, but I didn't know. I went to work that day and I was just exhausted, angry, sad, and in so much pain. I told one of my coworkers. She told me to show her my back, which I did, and there were 3 large slashes. I know, typical demon things, right? She told me I should go to the doctors because of how bad it was, and I rejected, saying I wasn't going to pay for someone to just look at me. Not to mention I just spent every dollar I had into this house and healthcare isn't free. Way to go, America. I ended up leaving early. My boss told me to get some rest and to enjoy a long weekend. Take the day to sleep and not fix or tidy up the house. I agreed and thanked him. When I got home, the string was now loose. I don't remember anyone touching it, but it was just dangling. I walked towards it and then went into my room, closed the door and knocked out. When I woke up, I had so many missed calls and messages. When I checked the day, it was Saturday morning. I got home and went to sleep Thursday around 1 in the afternoon. How did I sleep so much? My throat was dry and I responded to all my messages. My coworker wanted to come over to make me a meal and I could not reject it. She came over and so did my friend. We'll call my coworker Jen and my male friend Josh. Josh was telling her about how crazy I am for buying this house to start with. Jen didn't want to agree, but she did. We all laughed and were having a good time until the ladder to the attic just fell. We all jumped and looked at it. Everything was still. Everything was quiet. Josh looked at me and asked if I was going to basic girl it and start snooping, even though everyone knows I shouldn't. I nodded and both me and Jen started walking towards it. Josh said we were both stupid from the sofa. Jen told him to stay there and if we died to call the cops. Then have fun trying to persuade the jury of being innocent. He got up and was now right behind us. I went up first and let me just say, wow. The inside was huge. I honestly didn't expect it being so big. There was a lot of dust, some sheets, a fan and sink. Maybe it was a guest room. We were all looking around using our cell phones as flashlights. We started pulling covers off of the furniture. There was a bookshelf, dresser, more fans for some reason. I mean, there was no vents or windows, so it made sense. Then I pulled off a blanket from a chair. Why did I feel like I know this chair? When I sat in it, I had so much anxiety building up. And then I heard Josh yell, "What the actual F?" When I looked over, it was a bull with teeth. Then Jen said, "Nope, this is too much." I looked over at her and it was hair wrapped into something. My back then started to burn so bad I had Jen look at it. She said it was flaring up and then pulled something out of my skin from the cuts. It was a nail,